How's it going there? If you've been following along in the P-Pump 24 valve series, then welcome back. This is the part 2 assembly video of the P-Pump 24 valve for Chris Holloway truck. If you followed the last video, we had modified the injection pump to max it out. If you haven't and you're just popping in right now, make sure you check that out or follow the series right from the beginning. In this video, I'm going to get the pump installed, get it timed, going to get everything else installed, throttle cable, cylinder head, lines, and hopefully everything works good. We're going to have it fired up this video. After that, we're going to have a video covering drivability, tuning it, and a whole bunch more. Make sure you're subscribed. As I joke with Chris, this is a good looking truck. I'm going to milk this Instagram star for everything I can. Anyways, with the introductions out of the way, and you're already subscribed, we can proceed and get this sucker installed. If you're doing a P-Pump 24 valve swap and you're following along the same way as I'm doing things, then you shouldn't have a radiator right here, and it makes it not so bad to put the pump in. But if you have the rad, then make sure you do your stretches, because this thing weighs about as much as a small child. Something that's important before you install the pump is take some brake cleaner and a rag and clean the inside of this gear and the pump shaft very well. You don't want any oil, as it can cause the tapered fit to slip, and you'll slip timing on the pump. Also, when installing your pump, make sure it's pin timed to whatever the pump's set to. You'll have an indicator underneath here that will have a small kind of tab, and you'll line it up, and then there's a little plastic thing. Do not pin it on the tab. Just make sure it's centered in the hole, and then you know the pump's at time. So I'm going to set this thing in here. You don't need to lean in the engine bay like I am here, but I'm kind of doing it just so I'm out of the way. And then it kind of wiggles in place. Here's the O-rings a little stiff. Once the pump's wiggled in place, you're going to want to secure the 4 bolts to the front of it. They use a 15mm socket. And if you're unfortunate enough to have the head on the truck right now, these 2 inner ones are a pain. Now, this is my secret weapon here I like to use. It's a stubby 15mm socket, a universal with some tape so it doesn't flop all over the place, and then a 1-foot-long extension. Now, you can take a little bit of grease and put some grease in there, and that helps hold the nut in. Then you can just kind of fish it along the head here and ratchet it in. Then there's the 2 bolts for the rear support on the pump. They will use a 10mm, unless they're an aftermarket bolt, then they might use an Allen head or something like that. But you're going to want to secure that to the rear pump brace, and then come back down there. And if you're following along with a series, there's a bolt. If I can show it, probably can't. Right there, there's an Allen head bolt right there that you're going to tighten up after you have the rear pump support block tightened up. In the first assembly video, I had installed the vacuum pump and noted that the oil feed line for the vacuum pump wasn't able to be reused with the line splitter that the P-Pump oil feed uses. It's down there. So I had to use a 12-valve one. Now I've got the Crazy Carl's oil feed relocation here for the P-Pump, and the line it comes with doesn't work. I'm not too sure what the intention is here. It goes there at a 90, and then sure, it can go straight into the block like that, but then I can't feed the vacuum pump. So what I think might be the intention here, and I kind of don't like it because then I can't reuse the nice line, is that you're supposed to use the vacuum pump line, which has 2 90s, will work great, and then you use the new line for the vacuum pump right here. So that's what I'm going to do. So as you can see in the previous clip, I got the cylinder head installed, and I needed to do that in order to progress with the rest of the build here. So with the cylinder head on, you can see the return line actually clears fine, and there was no notching needed. So it's the 12 valves that is a lot closer. Then with the head on, or if you already have yours on, you can put the push rods in and make sure that none of them are sticking out or down more than the other ones. These two are on the lobes right now. And then there's finally the beautiful P-pump 24 valve line install. So kind of how I go about this is the lines will come pre-assembled, and you can install them and kind of just thread these all nicely by hand best you can. If some are kind of stiff or some of these kind of fight you, loosen off the line holders. Don't take them off completely, just kind of make them a little bit of loose, and then individually screw on the cylinder head side and then do the pump side afterwards. Pump side, to note, is when you're tightening it down, make sure that this piece is going through nicely and it's not cockeyed and you're kind of grinding it off. Everything here is pretty nice. Like, you can mostly hand thread it. Just don't gronk it is kind of what I'm getting at here. Take your 3/4 inch wrench and it gets stiff and you go and cross thread it and you're gonna have a bad time. Same with all the lines. These all kind of, you should be able to start them a couple threads by hand. You might have to like move the line up, down, left, right, and then you can finish it off with a wrench, tighten them all up, and then secure it to the intake plenum. The other thing is make sure you have your throttle linkage assembly installed. I forgot to cover that earlier. This uses a Granby Truck Shop throttle linkage assembly. It's kind of hard to show. It bolts to the motor mount assembly, and it's kind of nice and sleek there, but you're going to want to install your apps assembly or your 12 valve throttle linkage assembly if you haven't already. The next thing on the docket is the valve train. So I'm going to go and take all the rockers and install them in here, make sure all the lash adjusters are out completely, and then get to setting lash. Onto the valve lash now. My little secret method for doing this is when the intake goes down, do the exhaust, and then I just do them one at a time. You can do them all with the kind of the other ones as progress. So this one has the exhaust down, you do the intake, but I prefer just to do it cylinder per cylinder, and then I bar it over on the alternator using a 7/8 socket. However, another thing you can do is if it's kind of hard to turn over or kind of hard to get in there, is you can unplug this connector here with the brown wire and then hook a wire to that and just tap your positive lead, whether it's in here in your fuse box, and that'll bump the starter over. You just kind of bump it over as you go, and that kind of makes it easy to get it over there without wearing your arm out here barring over on the alternator all the time. But it's pretty easy for me with no rad or intercooler here to do it that way. I've got this handy dandy LSM tool where I can put a Allen key in the center of it and then hold the nut while I turn it, and that's pretty easy to get the lash done. The lash is 10 thou on the intake, 20 thou on the exhaust. So this is intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust. Shorts intake, longs exhaust. And yeah, just go down the whole thing. Make sure you check your push rods, none are sitting out of the pocket. So like this one's kind of loose here, and I have the adjuster backed up off all the way. So I'll take my Allen key, there it is, and just kind of tighten it up so it's not as much play, but like kind of back half a turn. So it's got a lot, but at least it's not going to have the push rod jump out or have this fall over. All right, if you have a mechanical fuel shut off for the truck, you can skip this, but for those of you that are going to go with the electric solenoid, I'm going to go over the wiring for it. So this is just an Amazon special fuel shut off solenoid. They've worked great for me. For the plug, you're going to go to Larry B's. They sell a female plug for it. I've had this plug kicking around from some truck I robbed it off of. It wasn't a 12 valve. It was, I can't remember what they got it off of, but 3 pins, ground, pull, and hold. Sometimes the wires are switched around, but in this case, I just kind of got the test harness here going. So green in this case is ground, and then got the pull, pulls it up, and then we've got the hold. So if I put the hold here to the wire, and then tap that, holds it on. So what you can do with this is ground. You can just either make a little ground wire that goes to the bracket here or on the engine or wherever you'd like. Then the pull wire, this one, you can wire up to your starter pull, which is this brown wire right here. And you can either put a ringlet on the wire and run it down to the starter, or you can do a Scotch lock to the brown wire, or if you want to kind of get even fancier, you can find the starter relay right here, starter relay, and wire it to the pin that it sends power to that. I'm not sure what the pin is, but you can kind of figure that out. So that's another option. Then for the hold can be many different things. It can be key on power. It can be a switch that you have hidden somewhere, as without this thing wired up, this truck won't start at all, so it's great for anti-theft. You can put it to key on. I think I said the key on. Yeah, if you put it to key on, you have to make sure that you have it wired to a key on that stays key on while you're cranking, as some circuits get turned off. So I'm kind of gonna do an assessment of what my space is to work with here and what I'm gonna do, and I'll tell you about that. Something to note is if you get this, it's good to pre-test the wiring, and then when you put it on the pump, before you wire all the plugs in, just pre-test that it pulls up and holds, because if this is too short, then your bracket for the fuel shut-off solenoid here, where it pulls the rack back, this will hit the stop first before this can get enough travel to hold. So if this gets half travel to right there, then it's not going to hold, and you're going to think the fuel shut-off solenoid's bad. But it's really, it has to go all the way in order to hold up. So even what I'm going to play with it and kind of get this working good. So the solenoid's bolted in. Something to note is that it's really common for these bolts to get loose and the solenoid kind of half fall off. So I put nuts on the bottom side of the bolts, so it's extra secure. Also make sure these are snug. Even possibly use red Loctite if you don't plan on pulling them off too often, as it's pretty common for these to rattle themselves loose and then they end up wallowing out the holes in the P-pump, and it's a big disaster. So some things to note here. So for the wiring, I'm kind of doing a little sneaky way I haven't done before, is I cut off the VP plug because it's not going to be used and this isn't going to be converted back to VP anyways. And there's the power and ground for the VP, and they're a pretty sizable gauge wire, and they should be relayed and fused as well. So this is just a red wire with a what appears to be yellow tracer in it, and that's for the it's actually key on, and it's going to the hold. And then there's just the black wire, I think, with a brown tracer or tan, and that's going to the ground for the solenoid. Then for the wire for the pull-up, I'm going to put that to the starter, and I have the option of either putting it to the brown wire with a Scotch lock or running it all the way down to the starter in the eyelet there. Ideally, if I was to get really fancy with this, I'd delume the harness and I'd put it in with the harness so you wouldn't even ever tell that it was on the truck, but yeah, that's where we're going so far. Got the fuel shut-off solenoid wired in all here, and I just kind of decided for now to run the pull-up wire to the starter wire here, because it's right here. I'm going to clean this wiring up a little bit later, but for purposes of getting this sucker started, it works. I'm going to pass my phone here to Chris, the owner, and I'm just going to show you that the fuel shut-off solenoid pulls up. So I turn the key on, and then once the starter, it pulls up.
It just went up, and now it's released when the key's on.
Good. Make sure you install the belt, and Chris decided to go with a belt that deletes the fan pulley here, and this is the part number for it. I also have another belt that is for deleting the AC, so you just have the alternator, the water pump, and the crank, and I'll have the part number in the video here. Installing the tapper cover breathers for Chris here, and the fittings that it comes with are just these little, they're restricted, and this is a -10 JIC to I think a 16 millimeter or something like that. So I always like to drill them out and make sure they get the maximum amount of flow that the hose allows. With the breather install, I have a catch can here. Well, this is, I think this is a coolant overflower. It's a pretty universal, vibrant bottle here. And what I'm going to do is I got some steel wool here. I think it's grade 0 steel wool. I'm going to pack it inside here. I'm going to have the breather tubes from the tap cover go in through the bottom, and then the top will have two vents here that just vent down, and then later on you can put them to a fitting that then runs the hose to, say, the intake or the exhaust or just atmosphere. But I'm going to try this out and see how it works. The CCV is all hooked up now. Got just the two vents here, and then there's like a, if it's full of oil, that gauge should tell you if it's full of oil or not. And the two lines run along the back side here, and it's kind of hard to see breather there. So that should provide plenty of ventilation. On the P pump, you need air reference to it to get boost fueling. So I had hooked up this air line to the intake horn because it's got an aftermarket one with provisions for MPT bunks. So this is just a push to lock or push to seal kind of air fitting and hose, and nice and simple. If you want to pull the intake horn off, you can either leave it loose or you just push in and pull the air hose out. Just a 1/4 inch air hose, nice and simple. You can also put like a T on here that has two MPT provisions, and you can put a boost line to there as well. But Chris has got the boost line to the intake via a banjo kind of bolt thing here. Well, that's it for the part 2 of the assembly video. I apologize for the abrupt end to it. My intention was to have one cohesive video where we go from the assembly to starting it. However, the starting part of the video took a little bit longer than I would have liked, and there were some problems we had, and it's better to break it into 2 videos, otherwise it's going to be 40 minutes long. So make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned for the next part video where we fire it up. It's going to be here a lot sooner than this video was, and I apologize for those that have waited for this part. Just haven't been in front of the computer to edit for a while. I appreciate you sticking along and following the series. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other questions or if there's things I've missed, I hope I've covered everything with the swap. Chris's truck obviously isn't in the garage right now, so otherwise I'd be kind of going over some things. But I hope this was as informative as I could make it for you, and I hope to see more VP44 deletes because the P pump's the way to go. Then there's these common rail guys, but we don't talk about those. We don't need these. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. I'll see you later.